Surprise. Yes, hello everybody. This is Kirusho here, and I am bringing this series back. Jeez. It took me a while, but I've finally gotten it done. Now, for those of you who are probably confused as to what's going on, this series was before my cremation Deku, which I believe cremation was my 2K special. Already almost at 2.5. Now, with that being said, I also did do a April Fool's Day What If, which turned out to go on for far longer than I expected. I actually did change a few things about it. Anyways, enough of that. So, a bit of a refresher course for those of you who have stepped away from this What If for 3 weeks. It's really been that long. Anyways, Deku, he has been, well, not injured, but heavily altered. His gene seed has mutated to that of, well, there's a chapter of Space Marine that has the same mutation. I forgot what they are. But they basically have this exact same mutation as Deku, where his skin basically turned on fire whenever it was in contact with oxygen. Along with that, he has gained the favor of another Chaos God. Deku was already in Korn's favor. Now he is in Slaanesha's favor, because he has the glory for battle. It is something that Deku has an obsession with. Now, with that being said, he basically gained a supersonic yell, basically like Black Adam from the Inhumans. Along with that, for those of you who have forgotten, these are our crew. The ones who were trained by the Marines were Deku, Mineta, Shinsho, Kaminari, and Bakugo. And the females were Ibara, Kirishima, yes, Kirishima is gender bent in this timeline, Momo, and Ochako. So, let's pick up back in Recovery Girl's office. That was very long. Anyways, let's pick up back in Recovery Girl's office, where they are, well, trying to figure things out. Kirishima, she is having a bit of difficulty with this. She is thinking that Deku may have lost his mind for a minute. The way he was talking, the way he was acting, seemed a bit out of character for him. He's always been more of a calm, rational type of person, always having a plan. But that is not the case. In fact, she's actually wondering something. Is Deku going to be okay? Because he's the first one of them with a gene seed out of all the people who've, well, gone through their test and their training to survive. He is the first to show signs of mutation, meaning that his gene seed will need to be altered and somewhat changed. So, with that, this is whenever the Space Marines, or the Sisters of Battle, or Sisters of Silence, I believe they are called, they would arrive. And they would basically instruct UA that they need to take care of Midoriya. They have better medical science at their hometown, and it will not take long to schedule a flight back there. They take care of their own. Midoriya, he is also one of the students representing their city. So, it does not seem right as they basically go over a fake moral code for their city. Basically having it sound like Deku is one of their brightest students. Which, in all honesty, he actually is. He's not only one of the smartest, but tactical. Due to the fact that he does lack a quirk. So, the sisters would basically get it signed off on that Deku is going to be going out of country for a while. With that being said, transporting him would be somewhat tricky, Nezu offering to actually help them rejecting his offer, saying that they should actually be fine, and Midoriya will be taken care of, as everyone heads out. Now, along with that, you also do have Mei Hatsume. All Might has tasked her to, well, not spy on them, but at least keep tabs on them. And he himself does want to make sure that one of his students is fine. So he would actually leave, heading for the place in the Himalayas. As you also do have the fact that Kirishima, she did not use One for All. And All Might actually does want to get a bit of an explanation from that. He has not felt his power decrease in the slightest. So, clearly, she has not used it. Why exactly is that? With that being said, this is where we'll pick up from, well, Midoriya. Things feel a bit off in his head, and in his body in general. He is thinking that, well, he had a dream, or quite possibly a nightmare, trying to turn on more parts of his brain. As soon as he does so, he finds that he is awakened in a tube. Or, well, a test tube as you can call it. Being a bit shocked and, well, frightened. The last memory he has is, well, shouting at someone at the USJ, and dropping to his knees and screaming up into the air, before Bakugo socked him in the back of the head. Now, with that being said, Deku would try and take off this mask. As soon as he rips it off of his face, he realizes that he cannot breathe, basically forcing it back on. To which everyone would somewhat stare at Deku, trying to explain this to him. He is in a depressurized tube for these reasons, along with this, and this happening. Deku somewhat understanding. Now, he is at least trying to pay attention to something in his head. He's not sure whether Korn will start talking again, or if Slanesh is, well, there either. In fact, this is somewhat new to him, and a little frightening. Momo is trying to, well, talk to someone, and she's talking to one of the Sisters of Silence. They already did not like Deku, the fact being that he became a Korn marked, and a champion of, well, chaos. But the boy has shown a lot of signs of improvements, with tactical improvement along with actual signs of getting better. So, this is a bit tricky. They've never really heard of a Space Marine who was a champion of 2. So, they need to mark this down for their brothers. Now, with that being said, they would end up back at the town in the I cannot talk. They would end up back in the town at the Himalayas, and finally get Deku treated, taking out his gene seed and at least trying to help his body undo these mutations. Basically, this would set Deku back at square one for a bit of time, meaning that he would basically be in a test tube for about a week, his DNA being slowly modified and, well, key points of it removed and put back in. They took DNA strands and samples of the kids before and, well, after mutation. Or not before, but before and after augmentation. So, things will be relatively simple to fix. It's just a matter of time, being the effort. Now, with that being said, everyone else is training, along with Kirishima. She's actually trying to figure this all out, thinking that Midoriya will be fine, but it's just a bit confusing. As one of the sisters would finally ask her a question. bringing up her distractions, and wanting proper explanations for these. Her someone just stating that it's because, well, one of them bringing up that it might be that corn-marked boy, not really ever using Deku's name. Now, they would have thought that Deku may have been a bad influence on her, and, well, he might be plotting against them. Now, with that being said, she would somewhat say that Deku would never go against them. In fact, it's kind of odd though, but she does have questions about, well, her quirk. One of the sisters confused, as she would come clean, explaining what happened while they were, well, training for UA. One of the sisters really being a bit more confused, the other one's a bit more surprised. The one who is surprised has, well, never heard of this type of thing. She has barely been inducted into the Sisters of Silence. The other one, however, she is, well, quite old. But she doesn't really care. Telling her that if the power she holds is, well, All Might's, then she must work to defeat All Might. You can't just claim to have a power like his, and not ever try using it. Now, they would actually try pushing her a lot more. They would train her a lot more, since she has straight up said that she has a power stronger than All Might's. Them not really, well, giving a shit. Basically getting her to try and use it. Now, with that being said, they would be in the woods one day. Everyone going for a run and getting things ready. This is their usual battlegrounds. For now. They don't know when they're going to go back into space. And, well, if they do, it would be far too soon. With that being said, this is where she would be, well, ready. Taking a bit more evidence on what's going on here, along with actually getting pictures of tech, and things she finds really interesting. So, this is where things are getting interesting for her. As one day during a training session, you have Ochako and Bakugo training. These two getting more and more fired up. Mineta actually joining in. As him, Momo, Kirishima, Ibara, and everyone else are just running around. Shinsho basically picking up Bakugo and slamming him through a tree, along with actually being able to bash his face into a large log. Bakugo is somewhat laughing as he picks up the log and swings it in their direction, smashing it across Kamen Rider's face along with Mineta. This being, well, weird to her. She's never really seen them, well, do anything like this, not even at UA. But that is where things get different. As you see Ibara just use her vines and immediately wrap them around a tree. Wrapping her hands around, well, her hair and actually getting things ready. As she brings up her vines to the right, pulling them upwards, and then the ones on the left, pulling them upwards also. As she's basically using her vines, the sharp points of them as a saw, cutting the tree up. As you have Ochako and Kirishima. These two working on a bit of a dual move. Kirishima would do one thing. She would run over and she would rip the tree roots out of the ground. Ripping it out of the ground and immediately tossing it in Ochako's direction. Ochako just being able to tap onto the tree and immediately pass it back to Kirishima. As Kirishima would immediately just push on the log, throwing it at Bakugo. These two basically passing around the log in ZOG, getting it to get faster and faster and faster, until whenever you throw it at an opponent, Not only does that force follow along with it, but as soon as you add the weight, that carries super momentum. A lot of it, in fact. Bakugo actually having to blast upwards with explosions to block at it. Everyone doing this for roughly around a week or so. Until Deku is at least allowed to be outside. Without his gene seed, he was considered to be weakened. And, well, as I can say, that's the best description I can give. They would have thought Deku would have been a bit weird out there, so they at least kept him inside, on his own form of training. That basically being code for they tried to get him to change his views on being champion. As Deku would run over to the training session, across town, parkouring and making his way through, along with people basically greeting him as a corn marked, or mocking him for it. Some greeting him with open arms, others being intolerant of him. So, that is what would happen with Deku. Him finally getting to the training center, as he would do one thing whenever he comes in. Immediately landing and smashing upwards into Bakugo with his forehead, giving Bakugo a bit of a bloody nose. Him getting angry and immediately going to swing on Deku. These two basically punching each other in the face until they start laughing. This being a bit odd for May. With that being said, everyone would continue training, along with Deku learning more about his, new power. A sonic scream. Well, he also does at least try and help Kirishima get control of One For All. She's just still trying to figure it out. And, it's annoying. At first, she broke her arm, and that was able to be healed by a recovery doctor. Then she tried to use it in her fingers. That basically providing Sports Festival Deku. But she's been trying to figure this all out. She's done Ironbone training, she's done, multiple things. She overtrains every day. What is she missing? What doesn't she do that allows her proper control? Now, with that being said, she is still having trouble, and wants to know. Until Deku tries to think about this, along with everyone actually sitting down for lunch. Sometimes, they need to eat, and they all do train together. They consider themselves to be a battle family. So if one of them takes a break, they all should. Now, while the girls are eating, everyone is talking. Deku trying to figure this all out. Him basically just sitting there with his hands crossed. And thinking. Trying to figure this all out. As he does put a bit of pieces together. During the heroes vs. villains, as Deku would say. Everyone looking up at him. Deku just saying, did she focus One For All on her entire body? Like her quirk, or did she just put it in her hand? Her really just pausing and not really knowing what to say. Her basically just bringing her hand up and saying that she actually just kinda turned it on. Deku confused. As she continues to explain, she turned it on in her arm, and after she threw a punch, she turned it off. Was that not the right thing to do? He kinda just said to pay attention and let the power flow through you. Deku just facepalming, saying that All Might really needs to give a better explanation. Someone saying that annoyed, as he would stand up, telling her to do the same. She would do so as Deku brings his hands up, telling her to do the same. As soon as he does so, Deku tells her to turn on her quirk. She would listen, and Deku would instruct her on what to do next. Focus one for all, like how you're using your quirk right now. Now, what she would do first is she would pay attention to the feeling of her body like this. She would then turn off her quirk and try using one for all. Everyone somewhat watching as both of her hands spark with power. That is very, very well noticeable. Her hands doing the whole turning yellow, which would then be followed by the power slowly just, coursing throughout her arms and throughout her torso, along with her body and markings forming across her face. Her getting really excited. Somewhat just, moving around a bit, as she opens her eyes and tries to focus more and more. Deku just telling her to come at him and see where she stands. Now, she would listen. She is turning herself down so she does not hurt her body, since she's already dealt with a lot more repercussions than she needs to. Breaking her arm during, I believe the... How many times has this version of Kirishima broken her arm? I'll find that out later. I actually do want to rewatch my own series so I get a proper rundown tomorrow. Now, with that being said, she would, rush forwards at around 30%. Deku immediately realizes that she's fast, but, his augmentations in his eyes and in his ears are giving him a bit of an advantage. He can hear whenever she does try and move. He feels the ground somewhat shift. So, as soon as he hears that shift, he can start dodging. Now, Deku would be able to step to the right and immediately just bring his, hand up, basically smashing her across the face. Her not getting sent flying, but at least, her feet dragging backwards. As she does still stand there, Deku actually shaking off his hand. One for All does provide a durability boost to the user, so that's interesting. Deku's hand healing, as Mei is still watching the battle. This has been a bit more confusing. Along with that, Principal Nezu has actually come to the city with her. He found things fascinating here once before, so, things are a bit more interesting. Along with that, she would watch as Deku and Momo, wrong series. Deku and Kirishima are going at it. Her basically trying to throw around force and punches at Deku. This next punch blasting her away. Her basically getting sent flying across, the forest floor, picking up her notes and deciding to get to higher ground. As she leaves early today, but at least making sure she kept what she had on her. Now, with that, these two would continue fighting, and actually getting things properly sorted out with her use of One for All, so that it will be easier on her body. And eventually getting to the point where Deku and her do have to call it quits. Deku is beginning to get a bit more battle crazy, while she is beginning to get a bit tired. These two stopping for the exact opposite reason, but everyone's somewhat cheering them on whenever they do sit down. Bakugo actually asking for a bit of an encore, saying that he could have beat her. Deku just, saying that he didn't even go all out. He still hasn't even used his scream. Bakugo and everyone somewhat asking about that. Asking if that was, part of his, mutation, since they did learn about that chapter. Deku just saying that, actually it's not. It's from Slanesh, or Slanesh. Them all a bit confused, until Deku explains it, and he takes a deep breath in as he screams. Basically doing a present mic, except the force of his scream is enough to actually knock down a couple trees, and force them all to cover their ears. Now, with that being said, I do hope you guys enjoyed the video and have an amazing day. I will catch you guys in the next part tomorrow. And if you guys are wondering why this was a bit more of a just battle episode, I didn't want to leave you guys without anything tonight for Space Marines, since it's been gone for quite some time. Along with that, I do want to at least get back into a bit of a Space Marines mindset, since I've stepped away from the series for far, far too long. So, I do hope you guys enjoyed this, along with what was going on during the 2 weeks before the sports festival. Anyway guys, I do hope you guys enjoyed the video and have an amazing day. I'll catch you guys in the next parts.